Well, this is the same picture as I started with the last time. The last time I did Aosta until Emilia-Romagna. Today it's going to be Tuscany to Sicily, and well, the rest of this slide has already been told last time. So I'm going to start directly in Toscana, and Tuscany is much more familiar territory for me. As mentioned before, Inge and I are in Italy almost every summer. And usually we go to Tuscany and Lazio. And that's where I looked for minerals quite a few times. And that's where I have lots of microbes from. And well, these are, as adjusted last time, a few photos from locations there. Of course, Pisa is the most famous with its Leaning Tower. The second on the right is the Piazza del Campo in Siena. It's the site of the annual Palio. Palio is a horse race between participants from 17 different city districts. Then Tuscany is the land of the cypresses on the left side. There is that's a very small hotel that Inge and I were some 20 years ago. And on the right, there's the view from our hotel at on the valley of Massa Marittima. The road leads to the road here on the left. Here, this road leads to one of the sites that I will tell you something about. In Tuscany, you can still find a number of slag localities. And they are leftovers from the time of the Etruscans. And the Etruscans, let's say that's about the period from the 7th to the 1st century BC, had a culture of mainly wheat, wine, and cattle breeding, but also of intensive mining of ores like iron, copper, silver. The remains of that mining are, of course, the slag localities. You can just search there, and you can find a lot, but without a local guide, you will never find where you need to be. So this one is near the village of Saceta. I knew that, but it's hidden somewhere deep in the forest. I was there in 22, but with the help of two of my Italian colleagues from the area, because on your own you will never find these places. And these are the beauties that you look for in slags. They're all well preserved because they're well protected in cavities in slags. But without exception, they are all very, very small. This entire image is just 1 millimeter. So just imagine how small this conolite and the needles are. Conolite is a copper mineral, as you know, and that of course makes sense in the remains of copper mining. Even smaller, this one, the image itself is less than 0.5 millimeter. So mistakes in the identification are not possible actually. Pyramidal crystals, bright red in a copper environment, so good bright is the only candidate. And you see that this comes from Massa Marittima, La Marsigliana. That's a small slag locality let's say in the neighborhood of the place where we go, where we often go. And that's the place where I have been most often last time in 22. And there's still enough material, even if you have to dig a bit for the next 30 years. It's not visited very often, so all the remains that are still there, if you go, you'll always be successful. And just as small, this is a slightly rounded spanglite, which mainly occurs in the shape of small, rounded, but actually hexagonal crystals, and which often only stand on the point. You can see that on the drawing. This one is beautiful green, but many more actually look more towards blue-green to blue, like these. Oh, yeah. You see this one here, spangulated copper sulfide also. And this is how you find these things. Yeah, these are, let's say, 0.2 millimeters or something, very small. But yeah, they almost always are freestanding. That makes them well observable. In the first part of this presentation, I already mentioned the smectite group as a group of clay minerals. This stuff is called jacontophyte. It's one of the subspecies. And that really was one of the best finds in 22 because I really had no idea what it could be. And after formal analysis to a lab in Germany, it turned out to be this one. It's a mineral of which I before had never heard of. And it was, as it turned out, also the first analyzed find of this mineral at this site. And I would never have guessed it. I never heard of it before. So this is truly a fine find. Then some other locations in Tuscany. There are, of course, outside of the slags, I mean, there are, of course, many more sites in Tuscany than just the slags. This is a place called Serra Bottini. The dams of some mines in the southern part of Tuscany. I've been there a number of times, and it always surprises me what you dig up, but well, I can show you nothing from there because I still have a box full of 22 that I haven't worked on yet, so that will have to wait. But from Toscana, I have some nice other specimens. This one, for instance, Monte Abbiata is the location it comes from. And that in ancient times, that used to be famous for its mercury mines. So this candy here is cinnabar or mercury sulfide. That's the main mercury ore, as you know. It's always bright red, often in beautiful transparent crystals that are easily recognizable, but always be careful of stray liquid and quite toxic mercury globules that can be mixed with these, or can occur between these cinnabar crystals. So you rather avoid that because those are very toxic. Then this is somewhat of an oddity. Milano flow guide, it's called. It's an oxide with a special composition. And as you see, that is 46 SU2, so it's likely quartz. But in combination with different gases, nitrogen N2, that's carbon dioxide, CO2, and methane, CH4. And that apparently, as far as I know, that's responsible for the rounded shape of this thing. There are also actual cubic crystals, like the textbook, like the one in the drawing, and also from the same site, but most of them look like these water droplets. And these lines here on top of it are photo effects because the lighting does this. So these are not real images. Then you have perretaite. Perreta is an antimony mineral, and that comes from the old antimony mines near Perreta. That's hence the name and the type locality. The mines are already closed for a long time, and the dumps are largely vanished. But you better stay away from what's left of them, because even nowadays toxic fumes are still coming up. I've been there once in 1993 or so, but only along the edges. I didn't find anything then, and this one comes from the mineral fair. But it's it's a good example of one of the type locality minerals from there. This is tourmaline, and it comes, of course, from the famous tourmaline site on Elba, the island. It's a very complicated group, as you know, therefore it's multicolored. And often even within a single crystal. That, as always, has to do with the variety of different elements in its grid. This is albite called. It is from the Elba Island, so it's from the type locality, actually. Then we go to Lazio. Lazio is from the south again, south of Tuscany. And that's actually where I've been most of the time, the last 20 years. This the capital is Rome, of course. So on the upper left, it's the famous Trevi fountain. On the right, that's the Lago di Bolsena. That's where we almost go every summer. Below left, that's Oviedo. Oviedo is a city on top of a hill, which are just as many others in the region. And Oviedo produces an excellent white wine that's called Oviedo Classical. I can only recommend that, but it's very tasteful. And number 4 is Castel Gandolfo. I've been there once. That's the holiday place of Francis the Pope. He wasn't there at the time, but you can go in and have a look at the building and the gardens. I'm going to show you 2 different sites from Lazio, which I have visited several times. This is the first, it's the lava and basalt quarry near Onana. It supplies a multitude of minerals of volcanic origin. Alas, since a few years, it's closed. I'm not sure if it's permanently or just temporary, but when I'm there, I'm always gonna we'll look if it's open here, yes or no. I show you the 4 minerals that I found most there. This is firelight. Firelight is one of the 2 end members of olivine. The other one is forsterite. This firelight has Fe2 in its grid, where forsterite has Mg, or magnesium 2. Firelight is always brown and often opaque, where forsterite is green to colorless and always transparent. And this one here is easily recognizable. It's transparent brown and clearly orthorhombic, and so rectangular, you could say. It's like a shoebox. This is, and the crystal dog on the right is exactly the same as the left part here of this crystal. So there's no doubt about the ID, or the recognition actually. Then you have magnesium hornblende, and it's long been thought that it would be ferro hornblende, but it turned out to be magnesium hornblende. And that's an amphibole. You can see that in the formula on the right, once again. It's always a shiny, deep black and with different shapes. I've put 2 drawings here because both shapes can be seen in this pattern. The highest crystal here has the upper shape, and this crystal on the right has the lower shape. So this is a specimen with 2 different crystal shapes in one specimen. They're always very shiny. Then phlogopite is one of the mica varieties, and therefore it's related to, for instance, biotite, muscovite. They are not easy to distinguish from each other at a glance, but it is known that phlogopite is by far the most common here. So crystals are always ultra-thin hexagonal plates and easily recognizable as being mica, and most of them are phlogopites. And the most beautiful of all the crystals here, titanite. always razor sharp, fully grown, yellow brown and transparent. And in 2017, I found I once found a block of basalt about 30 by 30 centimeters, containing literally hundreds of these crystals in cavities, always together with the magnesium hornblende you just saw, and on a bed of sanidine. I just loaded that complete block in its entirety into the car. It took me months to carefully crack it. And there were so many titanites in it that all my trading friends around all the world now have a few or so. And I still have a supply. So if anybody wants them in a trade, I still have them. And these are, this is the best quality titanite I've ever seen. And the second location in Lazio is Casale Rosati. That's not a quarry or a mine, but the natural rim of an ancient caldera, and it is littered with loads of chunks of volcanic ejecta, all of which contain minerals and very rare ones also. On the photo on the right, you see my local buddy Igino. Without him, I would never have found the place. I went there last summer, last year, and I still have a few boxes full of material that I'm working on. But a few nice things I can already show you from there. This is the first one. Based on the yellow-green color, crystal shape, the vertical stripes, and flat, elongated crystal shape, this is without any doubt badolite, which is also confirmed by Igino, my buddy there. You can see that it's zirconium oxide, it's ZaO2. And it helps too because zirconium is very common in this environment. The black crystal is a pyroxene. On one detail, you can infer that. No, forget it. No. So this is a pyroxene. I was going to tell you another story, but that's going to take a long time. This is badolite on pyroxene. Garnet here is the group. Androdite is a member of the group, and this is the androdite variety melanite. I think that's correct. The name of which is derived from the deep black color, because melanos is black in Greek. The crystals are well recognizable, usually also highly shiny. The diamond-shaped surfaces are characteristic. Most of them are grown in or dirty or whatever. So finding very shiny and clear crystals is not very easy because most of them are not very attractive. But this one is. This is a rarity. Franzenite is a water-containing member of the cancrinite group. So it's a tectosilicate. Although it's a rare species, that so far only has been found from a few locations in Tuscany and Lazio, and not outside Italy so far. But the idea is quite certain because of the unmistakable crystal form in regard to the drawing. And this is the only species that has this form in this way, in this environment. So this must be franzenite. Well, haween in English, is the blue mineral within the sodalite group. At this location, it's very abundant, very abundant, far more abundant than the Eifel. But mostly it's insignificant debris. So well-developed crystals are extremely scarce. Just like in the Eifel, where the Delling quarry is a well-known site for haween, but also it's always chunks and irregular pieces of rock. And the crystal shape is just recognizable in this piece. In this piece here in the upper side, it's the only one that I have which has, let's say, a bit of crystal shape. The rest is all just irregular stuff. This is Vishnavite. Vishnavite is one of the locally very much wanted rarities. It's also, for the specialists among us, it's also a silicate from the concrinite group, and it's an independent mineral because the Ca in concrinite and the K in Vishnavite are interchangeable. And concrinite is reasonably present in the Eifel also. So you may wonder how much of which there could actually be this Vishnavite also. It always forms colorless prismatic crystals with hexagonal outline and often 12 vertical faces, and that makes it, well, very, I'd say, easy, relatively easy to recognize. But they're quite rare there. Right, that was Lazio. We go to Campania. Campania is the place where we find Naples. Naples is the capital. And of course, the Vesuvius region. In 2015, I was in the region there, and I visited all these places. Here, this on the upper left, it's Pompeii, very impressive. Number 2 on the right is the Amalfi coast. The village is called Positano, and you can drive on the road, and the road is called the Road of the 1,000 Bends. There's no 10 meters which are straight, it's always bend, bend, bend. Number 3 is the Vesuvius, the caldera. If it would erupt again, then 2 million people have nowhere to go. Especially when the wind would do the same as it did in '79, when Pompeii got under the volcanic ash, got buried. If the wind would do the same, then from here onto the coast, we have 2 million people and they have nowhere to go. So that's yeah, there's, let's say, normally this thing would erupt every 2,000 years. So the time has come to take it to watch it very closely. But number 4 is the place called Pozzuoli Solfatara, which is west of Naples. And actually, there's a much greater danger than the Vesuvius, because this site is a large, very active plain where you suddenly cannot walk everywhere due to the fumes and public pools. And it's strongly being monitored due to more and more eruption danger in shorter or longer periods. When I was there, that's 9 years ago, I still could walk slowly and cautiously, but now it's closed to the public because the danger is growing more and more every day. Then I just talked about the Vesuvius, but in mineralogical terms, it's called the Somma-Vesuvius complex. Somma is Senator, Vesuvius is, of course, the mountain. This is diopside. Diopside is a member of the pyroxene group, and more precisely of the clinopyroxene subgroup. Pyroxene, as you know, has 2 subgroups. These clinopyroxenes and a much smaller subgroup, orthopyroxenes. With a few exceptions, here the most of them, as everywhere, are clinopyroxenes. And I once received this from someone, so this I didn't find this myself. But the others you're about to see are finds for myself in 2015. And this is the first one. This comes from the San Vito quarry, and that's actually closed with a large fence because a family lives in there with a flock of animals. But when I asked it nicely, the lady of the house immediately let me in with car and everything to look for minerals. And you now see three of them, of which this eumite is the first, from light yellow to almost brown, very shiny, beautifully transparent crystals, and impossible to confuse locally with anything else. It's magnesium silicate, as you can see in the formula. And I have quite a lot of these. They are all very well developed crystals, shiny, transparent, beautiful. And this is even more shiny, I think. Deep black spinels are fairly abundant locally and almost always well developed, if only because they are a lot harder than the surrounding matrix. Spinel is actually one of the many variants of a very large group of oxides with 0.4 in the formula, with a cubic crystal system. In Eiffel, for example, you will find hercinite, which is also a spinel variety, but with Fe2 plus instead of Mg in the formula. And this group is definitely one of the best finds that I did there. And if you look closely here, this small thing here, that's a fluorapatite, which occurs there also quite abundant. In the first part of this presentation 2 months ago, you had already seen Vesuvianites from Piemonte. And that difference, what difference is the color, and not only the color, but also the end faces are completely different from there. And this lighter color is more or less typical of the Vesuvianites from here. So if you have several different Vesuvianites, it's not impossible to derive the location where they come from. Sorry. Then, yeah, beautiful but sensitive. And this is real gar. Always store them in, sorry, always store them in the dark because under the influence of light, real gar quickly decays into auric pigment, or opiment in English, which is usually yellow and powdery. So you really don't want that to happen. They are arsenic minerals and they are quite toxic, so careful handling is recommended. As mentioned, the site, Solfatara di Pozzuoli, is this large, very active plain west of Naples. And so it's, well, I still found this thing there, but I think nowadays you can't come in anymore. But I'm not sure about that. And then, of course, there's sulfur in beautiful pointed crystals, also from this plane. They are rarer than you might expect. Sulfur is mainly found in volcanic active areas as precipitated powder or shapeless chunks. Well-developed crystals are certainly not commonplace, so this was a nice find. A lot of loose crystals, which are very well developed. Sicily. I don't have much from Sicily. I was there for a week about 25 years ago, but it really rained all week in April. That's always a risk in April around the Mediterranean. So I didn't see much of it, let alone that I could go hunting for minerals. So what I have has been traded, and that is not much either, but I'll show you a few. Yeah, as I said, I was there 25 years ago. That was the pre-digital era. So I don't have decent photos from there. I downloaded these from the internet. On the upper left, Etna, of course, and on the right is Taormina, where I had my hotel. And it's just opposite of the Etna. So at night, you saw the red glare over the mountain, which lit up the sky. And yeah, that was a very exciting sight. The temple is Agrigento, the Temple Valley, and it's famous for its magnificent and very large sulfur crystal specimens. Number 4 is, are the Aeolian Islands. They are volcanic in northwest of Sicily. And they harbor quite some exotic and very rare minerals. So if you can lay your hands on stuff from there, that's probably very exciting. One of the specials from the Aeolian Islands is this canizarite from the type locality. It's a metal sulfide or sulfur salt, which in itself is not very rare, but it always shows long, thin, needle-like or curly crystals. These are very small, as you can see, so the photo is not the best I ever made. But it's you can see that it's canizarite. Actually, much rarer than this canizarite from the last from the previous slide. This is chalcoloite, which I think is a great name, chalcoloite. And it's named after its type locality in Chile. It's Chalacolo. The La Fossa crater is one of the islands also, on one of the islands. And that would be a great place to go micromineral hunting, because it so far delivered 112 different species, 34 of which are type locality. So there's a lot of, let's say, very rare stuff that's found there. And I don't think it's very easy to get there, because the islands are quite off the coast. You take a boat from Sicily, I think. So it's quite an asset, quite a challenge to get there. You already saw diopside, which is a glinopyroxene. This is a member of the smaller sub orthopyroxenes. Anstatite ferrocellite is a mixed series in which Fe2 plus and Mg are interchangeable, but often not completely. So normally these crystals are mainly called anstatite ferrocellite, because let's say pure end members are hardly ever found, and usually are not either one of them. So anstatite ferrocellite is a quite common nomenclature for this mineral. Then the last one is Sardinia. I've been there twice in two parts, different parts. And, on the left, upper left is Gennargentu, which is a national park in some 100 square kilometers. And it's very hot. It's exactly in the middle of the island. There's nobody ever there, just a few cows. And it's great to take a full day to go through it. But well, take care that you have enough gas in your car, because if you get stuck, you have a problem. It's very hot in the summer. So as you can see on the right, Sardinia is a nature paradise. This whole island has these kinds of scenery. So it's a pleasure to drive through it. The capital is Cagliari. It's on the lower left photo. And on the right, Sa Lucesa, it's called. That's a mining district in the southwest, which is no longer active. And actually, a friend of mine who is a geochemist has helped remediating the area several years ago. So he knows his way around there. But the mineral hunting is not anymore possible, because everything is gone. And that's his fault. This is carbonate cyanotrichite. I couldn't find some drawing for some reason, but it's monoclinic in acid. Cyano is blue, trichite is hair, so it's blue copper hair actually. And if it contains CO3, which is not always the case, but if it does, then the carbonate is added to the name. And it's always blue, of course, and always a grateful photo object. And these things are quite small. It contrasts very nicely with the matrix. This is a story itself. Monheimite is the iron containing variety of the zinc carbonate smithionite. The idea of this one is a bit tricky. I got it in an exchange. Monheimite as the name of the label. And monheimite does indeed occur in these mines, so that's no problem. But this specimen honestly looks more like calcite, and it's commonly found together with smithionite. So it would not be impossible that this is mostly wishful thinking, and I should actually have to let this thing formally analyzed. But on the label it says monheimite is a variety of smithionite. Then the Figu quarry, I've been there, is one of the better known sites for ozomalite, which also occurs in the Eifel. It's always blue to almost black, the thicker, the blacker. And this one, especially the one on the bottom right, is what you call a textbook crystal, with exactly the shape of the ideal crystal drawing. And as you can see, black as they are quite shiny. And so this, the contrast with the colorless background, which is probably sanidine, but I'm not sure about that, is striking, I think. And finally, this is a real specialty. This location is not a mine or a quarry. So Aku Suriname, I mean, but it's a natural anomaly in the landscape in which all kinds of uranium minerals occur in micro-sized cavities. And this saleite is one of the better developed species of these, in the typical yellow color of many uranium minerals. That concludes the story for today. Yeah, 3/4 of an hour, so thanks.
Nice.
I stop share.
Very good.
Yeah, excellent.
Very good.
Henk. Excellent.
Yeah, great talk, Henk.
Great.
Yeah.
Do we
I
have,
love it.
do we have
Amazing
any?
pictures as always.
Yeah, great photographs. Very good.
Yeah, great photos.
Do we have any deep and meaningful questions?
Meaningful questions.
Deep and meaningful.
Oops. Oh, deep and meaningful.
Yeah. Well, why can't we get those minerals in the UK? That's my big question.
Yeah, well,
You know.
I don't have an answer to that.
No.
By the way, you can help me. You know, in September I will be at the BMS symposium, and after that, again, I go up to the Lake District, to Callback, etc. So I need you, Martin, to give me all kinds of details from there.
I'll sort that out for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Hank, is it still possible to collect some mercury crystals from Italy? Beside
You
the
mean
mineral-
Montalmiata?
Yeah.
No, not as
Also
far as I
is.
know, not. But yeah, well, maybe in some hidden places that I don't know about. But
I'm always
I
attracted
know
by
that the mercury mining in Montalmiata was in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
So that's like a long time ago.
but in Spain it must be possible still. Almada.
Yeah, I think so, in Almada. Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Almada.
Okay, yeah. And I know that in Turkey there are a lot of ancient mercury mining areas. I have a few senators from there, from a place. I have two specimens from there, from which say Agnici, Turkey. Agnici. Now nobody ever heard of it, and nobody can
Right.
tell me what this location
Nope.
was. And I got two different specimens in 2 different years with the same label
Okay.
for some reason. So yeah, no.
I like dangerous minerals. Always like them. I need
Don't eat them.
Do we have any other questions?
No.
No.
Very
All right.
good.
Yep. Thank you once again, Henk. That was excellent as usual.
Martin, I'm going to do this one in during the BMS also. But I have
Okay.
to squeeze it. I have to squeeze it into 3/4 of an hour. So I'm gonna.
Well, yeah, be about right.
Yeah,
We can always push it over a little bit, can't we?
Yeah, I have strict instructions from Roy Starkey not to
Yeah.
to take more than 3/4 of an hour.
You've done it today in what? 3/4 of an hour? That's
Sorry?
no problem. Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Look forward
See
to
you
seeing
there.
it again then. Yeah. I'll try and I'll be in contact with you before you come over to try and sort out what you want to do.
Yeah, sure.
Up in where you want to get to, where you want to go to, because you'll need to get your permit sorted out for a start off for the Colbeck.
I have a hotel in Keswick. It's in the middle of
Right.
British.
Okay.
And we stay there for
I've
a
got a
week.
couple of I've got a couple of locations you can go to which don't require permits for. So one's a slag anyway. So
Okay, that's great.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. If there's
Thank you
nothing
very
else,
much.
thank you. We will finish up now and see you all again in about 4 weeks or so.
4 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Doke.
Thanks.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
see you
Thanks.
probably next week.
Yes.
Okay.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye all.